Okay. Hey, everybody. There we go. Finally got that thing to record. Good to see everybody. It is like, wow, noticing that there are three images of me all in a row. It's like looking in those double mirrors, isn't it? It's a lot of me. Anyway, we are in our social media session right now. We're also live in the Mox room. Thank you, Mirza and Omer. Looks like we're good to go. And basically, for anybody out there, I just want to make sure that you guys saw the big news. Last week on Thursday, I closed my position in SOXL, which in itself was a 2,040% gain on some $15 calls, which was pretty amazing. We definitely got the bottom of the market on that. And that's what these numbers turned out to be. So if you guys want to see what that looks like, I give like a whole breakdown on how the trade went, how the setup was, how we were figuring out that the market was going higher based on all the Trump news, the Besant news, China deal, UK deal, the whole thing. If you guys want to know, like, how did this market go up? How did this even happen? Go watch this video. I give everything step by step. Same goes for everybody in the Moxie room. If you guys have not seen this video, go check it out. And that'll give you guys all the answers as to how this worked out. Okay. We're also running some specials. The class that I teach that actually helped me do this is on sale. We're giving a discount. You can go, well, I think we'll put the link in the chat at the bottom here, but go to simplertrading.com and you'll see our Memorial Day special. So there you go. Okay, so as far as today, I think it's the Mag 7 are looking pretty strong today. And we have been expecting a little bit of a rest with the market because breadth had gotten really overbought, all that kind of stuff, very extended. And you could see that we were pretty much pulling away from moving averages. We were just floating in outer space up here on the daily chart, all that kind of stuff. And we had a call credit spread going from, we put it on last Friday. And then I got a little bit chased out because of the short squeeze that was because of the Moody's thing. Now, I understood that the Moody's thing was going to be no big deal. Okay. Obviously, no big deal. I was expecting the market to move up. I thought it was going to be like a good buy the dip. It was. But I thought it was going to run into kind of Friday's resistance and then kind of roll back over like it's doing now. It just happened to poke its head up a little bit higher. And I said, oh, okay, well, I don't know how long this is going to last. So we just got out of it for like a 7% loss. And then really by the end of the day, we actually just got right back into that same position. So then we let it go down a little bit. And then I wanted to see what was going to happen today at the hourly 50. I was even texting some of in the chat box here. A lot of times the hourly 50 is going to be initial support. Now, maybe it breaks it later. Maybe it breaks it tomorrow. We don't know. But as price comes into the hourly 50, usually it's going to be an area of support. So I was aware of that. I was also watching our internals. The internals were not very strong. In fact, you can see it's mixed here and order flow is down and most stocks were down today. So I kind of thought, okay, let's give this a little bit of time and see what this wants to do. And so then it looked like it wanted to pop up. I said, look, we've got a pretty good situation. Our call credit spread expires tomorrow. I'm not necessarily expecting that the market was going to drop too heavily. I was very prepared that it could go sideways, which it seems like it's doing. And so we got out of our call credit spread for 43%, 43% gain. So not too bad. We have a little hedge. So that's pretty nice, and waiting for the rest of our positions to warm back up. So that's kind of what I'm looking at is I think that how many days did this thing rest? Basically like 1, 2, 3, and we're on our fourth day. And that's when the market was going sideways. So it could be enough. Let me just show you guys over here. If this market is really, really strong and it's like a lockout rally and traders need to get in and hedge funds and institutions need to get in, the market could just rest for a while. Look at this back in November of 2023. We had a really big move here, kind of like what we just experienced after the China trade deal news and all that kind of stuff. And you could see it was just floating up in space. But look here, it just took a few days to rest and go sideways before it started going higher. We need to be fully prepared that that is a possibility of what we could be in right now because, we're looking around and this market is still feeling pretty strong. And we have still not touched 6,000. I've been kind of looking for 6,000. I don't know if we're going to just come right up to 6,000 and then stall out, or if we can actually get to 6,000 and then continue going a little bit higher for now. So we'll have to kind of figure out what this wants to do. But I was not thinking that we were going to get a big pullback. I wanted some sort of pullback, but it might be just sideways instead. And that's kind of what it's feeling like, shaping up in through here as far as how that goes. Now, part of the reason I'm saying that is because if we look at something like FNGB, which is the leveraged ETF of the FANG stocks, and you can see we did, in fact, we were resting. That's what we were expecting. And you can see that we did get a little bit of a dip below the hourly 50. Great. That's why I wanted to see what the SPX could do today. But then here we are, kind of practically breaking out and making new highs. And so I looked at this and I said, oh, I think that the market wants to keep going higher. And so we got out of our call credit spread for a 43% gain and just said, look, it did its job. It was a little bit of a hedge, totally fine with that. And now that it looks like this wants to continue going higher because look how well that the mega caps basically went sideways. I mean, they jumped up. Everything got really, really overbought. We had OPEX also, and we were kind of figuring that there would be some weakness after OPEX since everyone got paid or all the money makers, got market makers got their stuff paid last week on Friday by having all those things kind of get sold or burn off worthless. And so, okay, it's like, okay, now we have a fresh series, an options series. And instead of even going down at all, it really just went sideways. And again, I think that the whole Moody's thing was, came out right over the weekend or, right at the close on Friday. And I think it scared some people, panicked some things. But for the most part, everybody bought it back up. And I said, yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem. But I still wanted to see a little bit more sideways and digestion. And so here we are right back up. And now it looks like it wants to go higher. We have, I would say, if the market wants to go higher, I think it can because it has fixed its overbought condition. You can see here that there was a pretty big gap between price and moving averages. Well, we're right back there. And you can see here, we're right back at the hourly 50, which has been a pretty major line in the sand too. Yeah, Janet, the video is on YouTube. So if you guys go to my thing it's here, it's Profit Pilot. So yeah, just look up Profit Pilot and you can find me, and or underneath Simpler Trading, I think, and you can find that. So let's see, we got this, and yeah, looks like things want to go higher. And then if we can look at SOXL, you can look at that here too. It's kind of doing the same thing. We could see that it was getting overbought. I mean, this was that big run into the end of last week, and we sold that big trade right there on Thursday, so which was just absolutely perfect. And you can see we also just jumped up here. Like we were pretty far just away and out from everything. And what have we done? We pulled back a little bit. You can see SOXL did come down a little bit, but it mostly went sideways and now it's into the moving averages. So it could go up from here if it really wanted to. So again, back end to support and it could go higher. So yeah, I think we need to start looking at some of these things and seeing what we can do. Now, I do think, given what I'm looking at with breadth being so high and extended at high points, I'm not so sure I'm gonna go chase a whole bunch of things because I do think that the market is pretty frothy up there. And in my experience, what I've learned is that it's the really strong names that will continue to push and continue to carry the market higher. While some of the maybe smaller names, speculative names, they may not continue to run when the market starts getting risky, to the high side, because the professional traders or the computers or whoever knows this stuff really well, they're going to look at this and say, the risk to reward is not that great, and we don't want to keep pushing this. And so that's where I tend to see stick with the names that are working, probably stick with the bigger, more popular names, the names that got some crazy momo like CRVW or CRWV, whichever that one is. That thing's been pushing, but otherwise stick to kind of the bigger things. SOXL will be part of that. FNGB will be part of that if you want to do ETFs. Otherwise, you just go find the strong names that are inside of there. Oh yeah, toll. So I'll take a there. That's what you're gonna be looking for. And you can see that still underneath the surface, it's not amazing, which is why I'm saying in this time when the market still feels like it's getting a little bit pressed to the high side, a little exhausted to the high side. If the market's going to keep going up, I'm going to just focus on a couple of things that I think are going to be kind of the big names, major names, and the mega caps. Okay, because not everything I think is going to continue to run until we get a little bit more major of a pullback. So we'll see about that. Bitcoin is making new all-time highs. I think I have missed this for now. I don't know if I really want to chase it. I was expecting a little bit more of a pullback, but you can see, I mean, this, look how strong this thing is. It didn't even get anywhere near the 21 EMA. It only went to the 8 EMA. Very, very strong. And now we're making new all-time highs. So I kind of don't really want to chase it. I'd rather wait for kind of the next bigger, better opportunity. And so, yeah, I'll have to wait on that one. MSTR, however, this one is looking a little bit better in the fact that it did pull back to its daily 21. So I do like that and like what's happening there. But the Moxie indicator is not really looking awesome. So again, I'm still kind of seeing a little bit of disconnect out there. And so if we're going to be trying to trade kind of what might be this little bit of final push, I'm going to be kind of picky and choosy about which names I'm going to go for. All right. Yeah, Carissa, I know the Bitcoin's kind of moving and all that stuff, but there's always another train. You know, there's always just more opportunity out there. You know, looking at something like Mara was pushing, but Carissa, you've been around in the Moxie room long enough that I'm a little bit concerned up here. Basically at the daily 200 for the Moxie reasons. Yes, it can keep going higher. I mean, maybe this thing goes to, let's just say it goes to 19 before it pulls back. Sure, there's a little bit more meat on this bone, but I don't really want to be chasing it from here to here. That could be a very, very small move for me. What I'd like to do is just be patient and wait for the bigger setup that I see potentially coming. Okay, that's what we have to kind of wait for. And so that this is where a little bit of either experience or just kind of self-control, and maybe I missed some big moves, but I kind of see what's happening out there. And yes, there might be a little bit more meat on the bone and a little bit more oomph, but I'm going to be a little bit careful with what we do on here. And I'm not going to just go chase everything in case I happen to be at the last 10 or 20% of this market move until there's a bigger pullback. So yeah, I'll keep explaining this a little bit more. I'm with over here in the social media. So again, see a lot of big eyeballs over here. Yeah, on Facebook, YouTube, X, all that kind of stuff. In fact, actually, I don't even know if we're on YouTube. Maybe the thing, we'll have to post that later. I don't think that got posted right now. But when I'm done here in a few minutes, then I will come back over to the Moxie room and stick with you guys. Yeah, NVIDIA, I'm hearing a lot of good stuff. Like NVIDIA has some good things going on. I mean, it's hard to say how incredibly strong this whole thing might be. It does have earnings. This could potentially be a run into earnings, and then anything happens after earnings. This could be like Palantir, where they ran it up into earnings and then they actually dropped it on earnings because they were happy. They're like, great, good job. The Palantir reported the numbers that we wanted. It's a great company. It's doing fantastic. We already ran up the price into earnings, did as expected. Cool. Now we can sell it, and then they drop it. So there's a chance that NVIDIA could do the same thing because this is still pretty extended. This is still very, very far up there, but it could go further. I mean, look at QBATS or something like that. That thing flagged a little bit into the hourly 50 and then went even higher. So of course, things can get crazy, but that's why I'm saying, there might just be a little bit more meat on the bone with something like NVIDIA. And I know that John Carter was trading Avgo, and you could see the same thing looking very, very similar right into the hourly 50, right into the 8 EMA. There could be a little bit more on this. So my way of playing this, you guys can do whatever you want. You can trade either of those individual stocks. You can trade SOXL. You can trade this through equity for just the leveraged equity. You can trade options on this. You could trade options on NVIDIA or Avgo. You can trade options on SMH. Like there's a whole lot of play on words. There are a whole lot of choices that you can do as far as how you want to set this up. So basically, if you think that the semiconductor space and the mega caps are going to go higher, there are a lot of choices to work with. Let's see. Javier, no, I don't do futures. The Moxie indicator does work on futures. You just have to understand that you need to change some of your moving averages that I use because futures, anything less than a daily time frame, they have more hours in the day. And so the moving averages mathematically are just different. So you have to kind of figure out what works for that. Alberto, awesome. Yeah, glad you got the package. I mean, anytime things go on sale, it's a great time to pick some stuff up. Okay, let's see. Um, yeah, Curry said Nvidia last earnings was good, great, and it looked good overnight. Then swoosh, they killed it the next day. Yeah, I mean that's a common thing. It's I think to the inexperienced, it's surprising. It's like, why did this happen? They came out with great numbers and they're down. It's just that's Wall Street. It's how they manipulate things. That's how they do stuff. But yeah, that and AMD looked like it was also wanting to push a little bit higher. Potentially AMD could even go up to the 200. All these things could have one more big push in them where they come up, they rest a little bit, and we get another push before they actually take a break. And maybe that would be somewhere around AMD 200, which I don't know, NVIDIA, what would that be? I mean, NVIDIA could come up here and come up to its previous highs before it finally stops. That's possible. Who knows? Maybe it hits 150 before it stops. I don't know. We'll just have to see what it does. Yeah, and then Tesla, same kind of deal. What I've been trying to study with Tesla is if you look over here, Tesla, when it jumped up like this, you can see here it pulled back a little bit, but it mostly went sideways and then it continued to scream higher. Remember, while there are generalities and there are kind of common things that the market does and things we can expect, the market can also, for a period of time, do anything it wants to do, whether it's to the high side or to the long side. The market doesn't always have to make sense. And so for Tesla, there is a possibility that if this thing rests just enough, that it could push one more time up to 400. I know a lot of people are talking about and looking at 400, which would make sense because my first target was 350, which was right here, and we did that. So we made 415% and then 205%, and then we made 84% on the stock. So we did some really good trades there. And so if this market really wants to push a little bit further, there's a chance that Tesla just goes sideways a little bit and then starts moving up to 400 before we actually get a more meaningful pullback. Okay. Any of this is possible. So I'm just trying to make sure I keep an open mind about that. And then one other thing is that we look at the UVIX. This is the leverage ETF, the VIX. And you can see here that it had been building. And this is why I said, look, this is starting to make higher lows and it's starting to hold the 15-minute 50. And we're starting to get some divergence. And I said, this is starting to show me that the market's going to be under pressure. It's going to have to rest. It's probably going to go sideways. And what I've been looking forward to see is if there was going to be a pop in the UVIX. And today was pretty much where that day was. And I wanted to see if it was going to pop at all, but you can see it came right back down. So this is where I'm saying that, this is kind of burned off. It's oversold condition. And if the market wants to go higher, this could come down just a little bit before then turning back around. Or if the market decides to say, no, actually, we need to pull back, I would keep an eye on this. And if it keeps building and wants to go up, then that's going to put some pressure on the market. So we're in a little bit. The easy part of the move, I think, has already occurred. I think we're in kind of the last stages of whatever this potentially big move is. Okay, so hopefully that's a little bit clearer. And when I get into the Moxie room with you guys specifically, I'll kind of walk through this a little bit more so that we can just kind of talk out what this path might look like and how we might do this. So yeah, let me kind of just explain that a little bit more. I'll also show you guys the GEX and Gamma, and we'll kind of look at that. Today actually was looking bullish. And so I saw that even though the internals, these internals not looking super strong, but then I was looking at Gamma and Gamma exposure and they were all positive. I was like, yeah, we're kind of getting some mixed things, but it doesn't look to me like the market really wants to go down. So yeah, we exited our call credit spread for 43% gain. That was nice. I think the most I saw this morning was about maybe 53, 55% gain. So no, not too bad as far as where we actually closed it down. But yeah, so as I said, I'm going to kind of pull things in. We're going to stick with a few strong names. I like FNGB, SOXL, those kind of things that are really like things that are going. So let me get ready to sign off with the social media group. And remember, guys, over there on X, YouTube, Facebook, hopefully everybody's seen this. I know this was a big video, got a lot of attention out there, but really, this isn't just like a I told you so, or this is how I did it, or whatever. This is actually a video showing you guys step by step how we actually took this trade and where we took the trade. And I put out the actual alerts to show you guys that we actually took this. And I assume most everybody in the Moxie room actually took these trades, and most of them benefited. Hopefully, you guys were in the Moxie room by the time we were taking these trades. But yeah, we put these on about 5 weeks ago and closed it last week. And it was just an absolutely incredible trade, a little over 2,000% on one trade. And that's how it got the account up to 1,400%. So pretty cool stuff. Lori, what do we use to read Gex? We use Spot Gamma and we use gexbot.com. If you're interested in either of those, we have coupon codes. So just message us or reach out to us and say, hey, what's the discount code if I want to try them out? Okay. All right, guys, let me sign off with the social media, and then I will be sticking here for the Moxie room. So just hang on one second.